you.
Good to see you too.
How have you been?
Very busy.
I know it's a really busy time. I'm excited to hear all about it. I know people are very familiar with your work as executive director of the Maine Jewish Film Festival. Fewer people, I think, know about your extensive academic background, that you come to us with an MBA from Columbia University, that you went to Hebrew Union College and received an MA in Jewish education, and recently that you completed a PhD in educational leadership at Lesley, which is pretty amazing. I thought we could start just by talking about how all of that rich knowledge base contributes to the work you do with MJFF, and also how you came to Maine in the first place.
Sure. Believe it or not, you actually missed a degree.
Oh my goodness.
I have 3 masters. The other one is in English from SUNY Stony Brook.
Oh.
That was when I was right out of undergraduate work, and I was actually in a PhD program at that point, and decided I needed to see more of the world before I committed to academia, and I didn't go back, as you can see, for quite some time. But
you made it back. You made it back.
Eventually, I made it back to a PhD program. So people actually often think it's very amusing that I have one master's is in English literature, one is in finance and accounting, and one is in religious education. And I often get asked the question, how did you get to all those different places? It's interesting because actually they were all very relevant at different points in my career, but also now I use them all, and the PhD in educational leadership. It's all part of what I do. I'm a lifelong learner. I like to learn. And so I guess there were probably other ways I could have gotten the skills, but I actually like academics. So I went to school and got degrees.
It's amazing. It's something to be very proud of. And I'm sure you do use and draw on that knowledge in many ways. When you came to Maine, did you plan to work for MJFF, or were you here when you started to do that work?
I planned to move to Maine. I've lived in the New York area or in New York City for most of my life, I would say. I did go to school in Boston, but when my son left home, my husband and I kind of looked at each other and said, we don't have to live here anymore. When we were thinking about where would we like to live, we said, we've always liked coming to Maine. In particular, I'm a city girl and my husband is a country boy, and Portland is great for that.
It's true.
You really can have both. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at the woods outside my window, but I'm 15 minutes from the city. And so we decided to move here. And then I decided to look for a job. Luckily, I was able to find a job with the Maine Jewish Film Festival, which really suited my interests and my talents, and worked out really great. In fact, it's such a good fit that people often think that I moved here for the job, but in fact, that's not true.
Just worked out. That's amazing. That's great. So often I think people's stories in Portland are like that things really just fall together somehow. This is the right place for someone to be, and then opportunities present themselves. But the film festival has certainly enriched the region in so many different ways. I know people often have questions about how films are chosen, what the process is like. Can you talk about that, how it works, and how your screening committee gathers?
Yes. First of all, I'm just going to say up front that every film festival is different and has a different process for this. I've been involved in a few of them, and I think that the Maine process is a great process. So we have a screening committee, usually has between, let's say, 12 and 15 people on it. It's very diverse. It's diverse in age, it's diverse in ethnicity, it's diverse in just about every way that you can imagine. And that's good because it reflects our audience. We look at what is being shown around the country, and we do that partially by looking at what other Jewish film festivals have shown, and partially because there are certain distributors that deal with material for that is likely to be appealing to Jewish film festivals, and they send out promotional emails. And you know, individual film festivals and individual filmmakers also sometimes send us materials. So we have sort of a body of things that we can look at, and we requisition links. And then we have something called the tracker, which is really a big Google Doc. And we put the links up on the tracker, and we say to the screening committee members, go look. We do expect our screening committee members to look at a lot of films, which means that they see a lot of good films, but it also means that they see a lot of bad films, because there are a lot of bad films out there. And so we do have a rule that says, 20 minutes into the film, if you wish you had that 20 minutes of your life back, you don't have to spend any more time on it. So on this big Google Doc, the members of the committee write reviews of each film. And Melinda, the chair of the committee, and I look at all of this. We decide what films we need to see personally. I will say Melinda watches almost everything, good, bad, whatever. She's amazing. But I have a sort of more of a limit to what I feel like I can watch. But, you know, there's sometimes you can look at a film, what people have said about a film, and say, no brainer, we're going to show this.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can look at what people have said about a film and say, no brainer, we're never going to show this. But there is, you know, there definitely are films in the middle where some people really liked it, some people didn't like it. You know, we look at balance. We try to look at balance between documentaries and features, although there are always more documentaries than features. It's just the nature of film. We try to get a balance between of countries. You know, we don't want every film from the United States. We don't want every film from Israel. We don't want every film from Germany. We want a mix. And so there are a lot of different considerations that go into it. For the most part, we are looking for material that's thematically Jewish, but not always. If we feel that it's an important issue for the Jewish community or an important human issue, if the filmmaker is Jewish, sometimes there may not be overt Jewish material, but we feel that it's a good film to show. There are a lot of different reasons why we might or might not pick a film. When we were doing in-person festivals, our goal was about 35 films. Okay. Our virtual festival is about 15 because it's just the capacity of people to watch on a screen is just less than if you're doing it live. So that's sort of an overview. The screening committee does meet or did meet when we were having physical meetings, right. Particularly to talk about some of the more controversial films or to just get a sense of how everybody was feeling about the group of films in general. And I'll probably say this a few times during this conversation, we're really grateful for the volunteers who give their time to, like I said, they watch good films, but they also watch bad films, and they really are very conscientious and very thoughtful about their reviews.
It's amazing. How big is that Google Doc? How many films do you usually have to get to 30 in a regular year?
In a regular year, I'd say between 100 and 150.
That is remarkable. That's a lot of movies.
And sometimes, you know, timing is everything. There's a period of time when we are intensely looking for films, and then sometimes something really good comes in after that period of time, and we'll say, no, you know, we've already made our decisions, but it's a great film. We'll hold it for next year.
Oh, that's nice too. So there's some flexibility there.
So, yeah.
Are there movies that work particularly well or themes that work particularly well here in Portland? Is it different than other places, do you think, in any particular ways?
So I've been involved with a couple of other Jewish film festivals. The Westchester one was one, and also one in Stamford, Connecticut, which was really only a mile from my house in Westchester. And I would say there are some differences. First of all, every audience is different. And when we look at what other Jewish film festivals show, there are some films that they show that our committee absolutely hated and we would never show. And I'm sure it's vice versa. There are films that we show that they would have never shown. And every community is different for sure, just to start with. The Maine community is different from the other ones that I've been involved in that it's not all Jewish. In Westchester and in Stamford, there's a large enough Jewish community so that those film festivals, by and large, are supported by the Jewish community, watched by the Jewish community, and there's not a lot of outreach beyond that because there doesn't need to be. Here in Maine, we could not exist if only the Jewish community watched our films. And we've done surveys after the last 5 festivals, and consistently our audience is 50% not identified as Jewish. It's a little different in that we feel that we're getting much more of a cross-section of the community as opposed to just being specifically focused on the Jewish community.
Does that change your mission in any ways in terms of thinking about how the films you're choosing are speaking to a pretty significant percentage of the non-Jewish community about Judaism, about Israel, about Jews?
So I don't think it changes our mission. I mean, our mission is to enrich, educate, and entertain a diverse audience by using films that focus on the global Jewish experience. What we do think about frequently is what kind of program do we need with this film so that people maybe who are not familiar with the ultra-Orthodox community in Israel, just as an example, will understand more about the background of the film. For our virtual festival, we're showing a film called The Other Story, which takes place in Israel and is about the contrast of the ultra-Orthodox community and the secular Israeli community, particularly around family issues. If you don't know that much about the ultra-Orthodox community in Israel, there are some things in that film that perhaps will be a little more difficult to understand. So we are having a discussion afterwards where we can give some background. And actually, Rabbi Shuli Dresner and Lisa Meyer are our commentary people. And I think they're kind of uniquely situated to be able to do that. I think we have a pretty good idea of what people in Maine would like to see. Very often, it's not a question of what Jewish people would like to see or what non-Jewish people would like to see. It's just, is it a good film? Is it interesting? Does it stimulate thought? I would say in general, Maine audiences like to think.
Well, you've alluded to the virtual festival, and I want to hear more about that. But normally the festival occurs in the spring and was about to occur just as coronavirus arrived. Can you talk about that period of time and some of the hard decisions you had to make during that period?
Sure. I mean, so I'm going to try to do this without using that most overused word, pivot. So 2 weeks before the March Festival, things were going really well for that March Festival. The box office was booming. Everybody was really excited about it. And 2 weeks before, of course, everything got closed down and we had to close down as well. So after, sort of recovering a little bit and taking a deep breath, I looked at the films we were going to show and said, why don't we give a virtual showing a try? We had the first film that we showed virtually was the film about Fiddler on the Roof. And that was a film that was going to go to an online platform. And, it sort of had an expiration date on it, we felt, for a festival. So it said, you know what? We've already paid for this film. Let me talk to the distributor and see if they'll let me show it online. And after a bit of back and forth, because they hadn't done this before either, they said, sure, we'll give it a try. And then I reached out to one of the actor who was going to speak with the film and said, would you do a Zoom conversation? And we hadn't done that before either. So we gave it a try. We had no idea whether this was going to be appealing or not. And we had over 500 households sign up for it. And it was a huge success. We felt really strongly that at that point, we felt terrible that people had bought tickets and we had to cancel. So we said, fine, we'll show it for free. And, hopefully this will be good for our audience. And as I said, we got such a good response that we said, oh, this is pretty good. We can keep doing this. We felt it was a way of giving back to our audience, who were really wonderful and loyal and very appreciative of what we were doing. We realized that if we were going to do this seriously, we had to get a streaming platform.
Yep.
And this is an evolution, I think, that many film festivals have gone through. We did get a grant it was a joint grant from the Humanities Council and the Maine Arts Commission that supported some of those films. So that was also really nice. And we felt that we were building loyalty. And I have to say that everything that's happened this fall in terms of our fall appeal and also in terms of support for the virtual festival says that it was not only the right thing to do from a sort of ethical point of view, it was also a good thing to do in terms of supporting the organization.
Well, and now you're pivoting to actually holding a festival, but doing it entirely virtually. I'm sure there are lots of logistical challenges around that, but it sounds like you've had time to plan a lot of them. Tell us about what you have in store.
Sure. Interestingly, one of the things that we discovered is when we first started to do these online showings, we got a lot of questions from our audience who had never streamed films before. But at this point, the questions we're now getting are far more sophisticated. Now everybody wants to know, well, how can I get it onto my Roku? As opposed to, how do I actually get this?
Sign in, right?
Yeah. The way that we are doing this is through a streaming platform. So it's very seamless. You go into one site, you can sign up for the films, you can watch the films, and the link for the conversation, if there is going to be a conversation with the film, is going to be there. Again, we're looking for different topics. We're looking for a combination of documentaries and features. We also, one of our films is called The Sublet. This is the latest film of a very well-known Israeli filmmaker, Eitan Fuchs. He's a wonderful filmmaker. This is a wonderful film. Since we had shown our opening night film, which was the Fiddler film from March already, we felt like we wanted something to make a big splash. So we thought we would show this film. And again, this is a film that's likely to go to platforms. So better to show it now than to wait. One of the nice things about being virtual is that filmmakers in general are much more willing to do Zoom conversations than to take the time to actually fly to Portland. So so we were able to get many of the filmmakers to do conversations with us. We're also really excited because we are going to do one live stream concert. And we are also working with the PSO on our film about Zubin Mehta. That was always planned, actually. That was planned for March originally. And hopefully they will also be giving me a link to some music to go with that one as well. So we're trying to do as much as we can through a virtual platform. We did do a big survey over the summer of our audience, and the feedback we got was, yes, please make it virtual. Nobody really wanted to do it in person at this point. So we're trying to do as much as possible to make it like, to have the excitement of a festival, but to do it virtually.
It's really exciting to see how it's coming together. And I think the tertiary and supportive additional events will be really fun for people to experience virtually and to see how that works and how it feels. I've been astonished to see the numbers of people signing up for things virtually throughout the summer. I think it's so exciting. And we're meeting people where they are. I know you've in the past had several days where people could watch films. Will that be the case during the festival? Okay.
Yes, what we decided to do was first of all, we expanded the festival to a 2-week period total because we felt that people had screen fatigue, and we wanted to spread it out a little bit. We could have made all of the films available for the whole 2-week period. We decided not to do that because you really want to have people make a date with the film, so to speak. So we divided the viewing period, and we have 3-day viewing periods for each film. And sometime during the course of that viewing period, we have a discussion. The discussion is also viewable by the people who've bought tickets outside of that viewing period. So that, you don't have to go to the discussion live. You can if you want, but you don't have to. And we felt that way people would make a decision. I'm going to see that film. There's options. You don't have to see it at a particular time on a particular day, but you can't just wait till the end of the festival and say, whoops, I meant to see all 15 films. I'm going to watch them now. Like everything else with this virtual festival, we are learning on the job. And, we will certainly do a survey after the festival. And for the next one, we will learn from what we've done.
That's great. You've alluded to the role of streaming services a little bit, and I know there's certainly a lot more Israeli content available to Americans right now than ever before through some of these services. And we've seen this incredible media storm around Shtisel and Unorthodox this year, and Fauda, I think to a lesser extent, but also these sort of procedurals and action shows. Can you talk about how those are playing out, how people are connecting with them, if you have a sense of how that relates to the films that you're picking or people's growing awareness of just as the art form of film and TV in Israel?
I would say, first of all, in general, as I said before, people are getting much more sophisticated about what's out there, what's available, streaming, being able to do it. So just in general, I would say that people are watching more that way because they have to. People are looking for something that interests them and for something to talk about. And I think particularly Shtisel, that was something that people talked about. And I think that's part of the appeal.
Well, you're navigating it really expertly so far. So we're so grateful. I think I've heard some people talking about the way that binge watching shows is more akin to watching film too, and that hopefully the interest in TV, when you're watching in this manner, where you're watching for 3 hours or 4 hours, will translate into some more awareness of the value of longer form presentations and film in general.
I mean, we've been offered TV shows to show as part of the festival. We've always shied away from that because in a live festival, it's very hard to do that. It just takes too much time. And then if you leave people with a cliffhanger, they're mad at you. So we don't want to do that. And now I would say, I'm not sure I would do that because it's already out there. We're looking for things that people, can come to us for, that it doesn't duplicate what else is available.
Barbara, I know you, among all the other things that you do, you've been a host of Sunday Simcha on WMPG, the radio show. People are looking still for comfort and for connection in a variety of ways. And I'm wondering if you have recommendations for films or for media or for what you're turning to for comfort and inspiration during this time.
Okay, so first of all, unfortunately, since WMPG is part of USM and USM is not allowing non-students on campus, I have not been able to do the radio show since March, really. Some of the volunteer DJs have been producing shows from home. I just have not had the time to do that. Maybe after the festival, we'll see. But I will say that I feel that music is a great comfort, and I have done quite a bit of listening and sort of storing up music for when I can do shows again. As I think you know also, I'm an avid Israeli dancer and folk dancer in general, and belly dancer. And I'm happy to say that all of those things are very much available online. And it really has been a sanity keeper for me. Particularly if there's a dance form that you wanted to explore more, but were restricted because you couldn't find a class in your area. Well, you know what? That restriction is gone. And that was, I had not actually gone to an Israeli dance session for quite some time because there weren't any here unless I wanted to run them, which I didn't. But now I can go dancing in Boston and Chicago, and I've been doing quite a bit of that. I've been learning lots and lots of dances. I can't wait to go back to teaching dances because I feel like I've been so enriched by everybody else's sessions. So,
well, that's exciting.
Yeah, that's how I've been sort of keeping myself busy and together. I always wanted to learn to play the dumbek, or the Middle Eastern drum, tambura, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that as well because you can certainly do that via Zoom. Again, I think that this is a great time to sort of indulge your learning passions. Mm-hmm. And as I said at the very beginning of this talk, I'm a lifelong learner. So there's a lot of stuff out there, and it's really just a question of finding it and taking advantage of it.
That's such an inspiring way to close. Thank you so much, Barbara. We're really excited for the festival this year and to continue to be enriched by all the movies and all the activities that you're putting out there.
I think I would be remiss if I didn't say, first of all, I don't think I mentioned the dates of the festival. So it's November 7th through 22nd. And also, if you want information, the easiest way to do that is to go to our website, www.mjff.org.
Wonderful. Thanks again, Barbara.
Okay, thank you.
So nice to see you. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.